In the admissions module, under Lookups, we find the student status lookup. This is probably the most complicated and important lookup in the admissions program. I'll make it a little bit bigger to see some of the rows. Here we have various statuses that the school has defined. Your school might have different values. Each one of these values is to represent some stage in a student's process through the school, from the initial inquiry up through graduation. Each one of these statuses can be marked as active or inactive. If you try to delete one, let me select the row, press Ctrl Delete. If it's already been used, then you can't delete it, but you can mark it as inactive. Then it won't show up in any additional lookup. However, for each one of these statuses, we have a number of flags that indicate how it's supposed to be used throughout the program. For instance, for these statuses, which ones are inquiry level? Here we've marked it. Which are applicants, which should show up on the wait list, which should be considered students, and which should be considered alumni. Notice you can have more than one of these. That's one grouping of flags. Then we have some functional ones. For which one of these statuses should attendance be able to be taken? This is important because this indicates whether or not the student will show up in school admin or teacher admin in the attendance rosters. Same thing, scheduling. Which of these should be available to be scheduled for classes or activities? Which one of these should be counted as a sibling in school? This might be important for your wait list. Which one of these should be considered a student in the school? Notice that some, such as student enrolled here, isn't in the school yet. This again is important for analysis purposes or for any activity that involves the student actually being physically in the school. Here is our promote column. This indicates which of these statuses should be promoted when the promotion process continues. So, for instance, an applicant who's in the process would still need to be promoted so that they're reflecting the right grade level. Billing, which students should be receiving billing and available in the financial program. We have an auto change date. This indicates that if a particular date is reached, for instance, graduation date, then automatically change the status to graduate. The important dates are available in a drop-down here, and you can apply them to one or more of these. Note that it should only be one date with one status to avoid ambiguity. Here we have some more. Notice that this lookup is so large that in scrolling, it would be difficult to see the statuses, so they stay fixed on this left-hand side. We can indicate whether or not a particular member should be marked as inactive when they reach this status. So, for instance, an applicant pending isn't marked as such, but an applicant rejected, you might want that to be marked as inactive. We can also indicate whether or not an alert should be generated when a status is changed to a particular value. So, for instance, here under applicant approved, this will generate an alert, and the alert type will be the applicant is ready. You can also associate statuses with the online application process. At any time, you might want to get rid of some of these rows that don't apply to your particular school. However, you can see more rows by going to Column Chooser and seeing them here. For instance, here's a description row. The description row is very useful when training new staff or to refer to what these values mean later on. If at any point in time you want to revert to the default layout, you could go to your column chooser and manually bring in columns or get rid of columns, or instead, you could just click on the Restore Default Layout button, and everything will be restored as it was originally. If at any point in time you want to export this information, just click Print, and you can export to a file or print to paper.